that you drinking?
It's called Mungat.
Mungat.
And it's supposed to be in the style of Viking Age strong beer.
Oh.
But what I remember largely from my readings is that nobody really knew what was in the style of strong beer of the Viking Age. So
is it from an Alaskan brewing company?
It's from Sweden.
Oh, all right. Okay.
And
by the way, we are live now. Sorry. And that's what you get. It says we're live. I'm assuming we're live. Somebody will tell us if we're not. I am Ulla Brenna's daughter, self-professed Norse nerd, and these are my nerdy Norsey friends. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, my dears.
So I'm Dam Kinehild. Tonight I am drinking Mungat, which is put out by a Swedish brewery in conjunction with Grimfrost, the website that sells a bunch of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And they're calling it Mungat, which is a term that appears in Viking Age sources for the fancy ale, the strong ale, the stuff you drink at times of celebration. So that seemed appropriate. I have 4 bottles of it. And I've got more beer in the fridge. And at some point tonight, my dinner will arrive. So
it'll be fine. We're just gonna vamp it. It'll be great.
Whoopsie daisy.
My name is Baron Bersi Edvardsson, and I am drinking gin and lemonade out of this lovely, beautiful new horn that I have thanks to my lovely friends here. They heard that I didn't have one and remedied the situation. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Our pleasure. All right. I think I've got everything set up now. Sorry. Being cruise director is, there's things to be done as cruise director. All right. So Saga Saturday at our special time, we decided that we were being far too serious in our previous episodes. Far too serious. So we decided that we were going to do a drunken edition. Here we are. We are each going to tell a tale, a saga, a something from memory. We'll see how that goes. I am not going first because it's my show, not it. Oh, well, look, it's Bersi. Bersi was the last one to the party. Bersi gets to go first.
That sounds fair to me. Yeah, yes, I have poor time management. So I was rushing at the end here because after I'm done telling the story, I've made a few memes based on this story because as I was rereading it, I was just thinking of things. So I'll show those at the end. All right.
We are super excited about your visual presentation.
Thank you.
It will be a Saga Saturday first.
Indeed.
Oh, have you got it set up so you can screen share?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm realizing that I
Muting myself.
have basically no information. I have not gathered my information about where this is in Fatayrbok. And it's about King Harold, and that's pretty much all I've got for you. Well, it's in the time of King Harold of Norway. So let's just get right into it.
Let's go.
So, in the time of King Harold of Norway, a man named Holly, that's with an A, not Holly, but Halli, Holly, came into this is a longer thotter. Sneglu Halathottir is a longer one, and I'm only telling a little segment of the tale. But I'll give you sort of an overview of what kind of happens in it. Basically, a man named Holly comes into the service of King Harold. Holly is from Iceland. Icelanders are known for being stubborn, obstinate, and Holly is known as, well, he's described physically. I always like it when the sagas give physical description. He is tall and lanky, and he's a very spindly
Now
fellow.
picturing Gumby
And
with
they,
the like.
yeah, they describe him as being incredibly impudent and a troublemaker. But that when he comes into the service of King Harold, he gets to know everybody very quickly, and everyone likes him. So he's a troublemaker, but
Okay, we all like the good troublemakers. I mean, who doesn't like a troublemaker?
It's your obligatory douchebag. Like, you've got that one friend who's kind of a douche, but you work with it because they're also sarcastic, right? Like, the guy's called Sarcastic
Our
Holly.
sarcastic Holly.
He's funny,
He's gonna
And-
be.
but he's
Yeah.
an asshole.
part of his sarcasm comes through in his poetry. He becomes one of King Harold's court poets, and makes a name for himself with his rivalry with another court poet, which really most of the tale kind of tracks this rivalry as time progresses. Theodulf, and they basically just write poems, both trying to one-up each other and also just straight up slanderous poetry. Later on in the month, when we get around to Neve, I feel like we're gonna have to bring Sarcastic Holly back in because there are so many examples of Neve and like emasculating humor and insults being thrown at each other constantly.
I totally picture it as like a 90s rap battle,
Yeah.
right? You got each side, you know, full on, what was that, 8 Mile, 8 Mile, right? Like full on rap battle. Or am I, maybe that's just me. I don't know. All right, sorry.
No, I'm having a moment where we're citing Eminem.
Whatever. Don't judge me.
It's a moment of joy.
These insults and things he's throwing back and forth actually he's doing this with the king too. In fact, that's kind of how he gets into the service of the king, is through some insult exchange, very oddly. Basically, the king puts up with a lot from Sarcastic Holly, which he does not put up with from anyone else. As I said, he has the name Sarcastic Holly. That's Sneglu Holly in Old Norse, which I always think, I just like the Sneglu.
Mm-hmm.
And the sort of broader scope of the story is that, you know, he has this rivalry. He does several clever, interesting things where he tricks people, one-ups them, and there's an interesting moment actually where he has like this whole trick and a situation involving porridge. Basically, the king had been eating far too, like he was eating a whole bunch but not letting anyone else eat. And then as soon as, for instance, you know, the king gets served first. The king gets served first, and then everyone else gets served. So the king had been eating for quite some time, but then as soon as the king was done eating, he would just stop, and then everyone had to stop eating, which was not.
Wait, that's not fair.
That's not fair.
So here's the thing: is that still true today with Queen Elizabeth?
It is.
So Queen Elizabeth, when she's done with her meal, everybody's
done. It does.
You gotta shovel it down quick.
Yep. Yeah,
Wow.
that's actually, I think it's not just Queen Elizabeth, but that's actually a pretty common thing. There's a cutoff.
But apparently, then he was just clearly not sort of holding up his end of the bargain as king, being generous, which is a mark of a good ruler, being generous and allowing his retinue to eat enough. So most people were going to bed hungry. And also, King Harold was known for only eating one meal a day. So people were going home hungry a lot, and Holly was tired. He was sick and tired of this.
Like, that's full on Ebenezer Scrooge here.
Yeah. Holly was sick and tired of this, and so he got caught like sneaking away during the day and eating vats of porridge. And so the king at one meal lays out a trough full of porridge and tells Holly to start eating. And so Holly eats his fill, and then he's like, cool, I'm done. And then the king's like, no, keep eating. And he's like, no, keep eating. And he's like, you got to keep going until you burst, like until you die. And Holly's like, he puts down his spoon and he's like, my lord, if you intend to kill me, draw your sword and do it right now. And the king the king had already drawn his sword. The king put his sword back away and sat back down and was like, okay, you called me on my bluff. All right, I don't actually want to kill you, but and anyway, so there's all these different things. I'm going to tell one little section of this tale, but I would like to mention that at the end, sarcastic Holly dies while eating a bowl of porridge.
Oh, see, now, spoiler alert. Dude.
Well, that's not actually part of the tale that I am about to tell.
Okay.
But I do have if I share my screen real quick, I have one of I need to have, you can make me a co-host and then I can share.
Well, shit. Share screen. I don't want to share. You.
Please excuse me while I eat my dinner.
It's all good.
Over it. Is it porridge?
I think is it porridge? I think because wait, sorry. Technical difficulties make co-host. All right, you are now a co-host. You should be able to share now.
Perfect. My screen.
Look at
that. So, if I had a nickel every time there was a porridge-related incident in the saga, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't very much, but it's weird it happened twice.
Okay, wait. You didn't make this up. You found this.
No, I mean, like, I meme generated it.
Oh, good. I thought that someone else was as much of a nerd as we are. But it is.
No.
Now I want to find porridge references. More porridge references? I don't know.
There's definitely someone drowning in a vat of beer in England at all, so there's that for you. I'll stop my sharing. But anyway, so that's my first meme of the night. So Sarcastic Holly, he's a court poet, he's hanging out, he's got his trusty bench companion there with him. And I'd like to note that a bench companion is not just the person who you sit next to at every meal, you get to hang out with, they're your buddy, your pal, you also quite literally sleep with them because the bench is your bed. They're quite wide and you just lay down next to your bench companion and sleep there. So his bench companion was an older fellow who was agreeable, very kind, and his name was Sigurd. And so Sigurd and Holly are sitting there eating one day when they notice that there is a new person sitting next to the king. He's a new person in court, right? And Holly asks who he is, and Sigurd tells him all about this man. His name is Einar Fly, and he is a tax collector for the king. Who is known for being incredibly cruel and iron-fisted. He will kill anyone who doesn't do exactly what he says, and does not ever pay compensation for deaths, for any killings. And he's a big, strong man with the backing of the king. And so he kind of just gets away with this. Yeah. So we don't like Einar Fly. And Holly is like, this guy, I'll bet you, you know what, Sigurd? I'll bet you I can get some money out of him. And Sigurd's like, okay, well, this gold armband I've got on is worth 3 marks. Or he was silver, whatever. So this armband is worth 3 marks. I'll give it to you if you can get money out of him. A huge price. this is unreasonable. He's basically calling his bluff. Like, you can't get this. And so Holly's like, to give something that was worthwhile and without very much to give, he wagers his head. So Holly has just wagered his life on being able to get money out of this man who is known for never paying compensation and being a ruthless murderer. So the next day at their one meal, although things get a little longer nowadays because of the whole porridge incident from before, Holly, King Harold looks around and he's like, all right, we have been stuck in this pandemic for so long, stuck inside, and we don't have a Netflix subscription anymore. So we're bored to tears, and I'd love to hear a story from you, Einar. And Einar is like, it is really nothing to tell. It is just tax collection. I am literally a tax collector. You want me to tell you a story of my tax collecting? And he's like, literally, yes, please. And so Einar launches into this tale. He's like, all right, I was up in Lapland collecting taxes. And I ran into this group of...
Wait, taxes in Lapland? What, would they pay you in caribou? I mean, caribou's good, but all right.
And actually, I do have an answer for this.
I know you do. Of course you do.
No. Caribou stew is fucking delicious.
I love caribou. Don't get me wrong. I love caribou.
So not so much caribou or reindeer, but walrus tusks.
Yeah.
And also walrus leather was used a lot for making sails
and ropes and
yeah, exactly.
I was just reading about that this morning.
Yeah, so
I'm sorry.
I told you there would be tangents.
Walrus are ridiculous. Like, when you think about, like, when you look at a walrus with the...
I envy their mustaches.
You're on mute again, Kinehild.
God. Anyway,
I'm gonna beer, honey.
So
okay, anyway, so taxes were collected from Lapland. Sorry,
right, okay,
I'm gonna go back on mute.
He's up in Lapland and he's collecting taxes, and he runs into a boat full of like fishermen, one of whom notably Einar notes is, hey, there was this Icelander who was also named Einar on the boat. And I asked him, hey, have you been trading with the Sami? Because there was like an extra tax or something. There was like a fine or something. Whatever it was, he wanted to know if he had been doing it. I think maybe it was like illegal. I can't remember. Whatever. It was a problem. And so he was like, have you been trading with the Sami? And they were like, no, we haven't. And Einar didn't like that answer, and so he killed all of them. And now remember, he is the one telling this story. He's like, so yeah, then I killed them all. And then me and my men boarded their boat, and we found Sami goods. So turns out we were right. So all good all around. Great time was to be had by all. And at the end of his story, Holly's sitting way down the bench. He's just a court poet way down there, right? In the peanut gallery. He throws down his knife and refuses to eat. And his bench companion Sigurd's like, hey, are you okay? Like, are you ill? What's up? And he says, that man Einar, the one from Iceland, not Einar Fly. That man Einar was my brother. Einar Fly has killed my brother. And Sigurd's like, oh, I am so sorry to hear that, but you need to, I can see where this is going, and you please, like, you should drop this matter altogether. This is not a man you can mess with. You're not gonna get anything off of him. But Holly's like, nope, I'm gonna try. I will not do my brother this disservice I must do him the honor of trying to get compensation, right? So he goes and he goes up after the meal to Einar Fly and he asks him for compensation for the killing of his brother. To which Einar Fly basically says, "Get the fuck out of my face. Are you kidding me?" And so Holly leaves. And he goes back down to Sigurd, and Sigurd's like white-knuckled, clenching the table. "Oh my God, like, are you okay?" And he's like, he said no. He wasn't down. And Sigurd says, look. I know we had a bet, but I'm calling it off. You know, like I'm worried about this. So the bet's off. And Einar says or rather, Holly says, "That's very kind of you, but no, I'm gonna try again." So the next morning, he goes up to Einar Fly, this time while he's with the king. And he once again asks Einar for compensation for the killing of his brother. Pretty much with no cause, right? Like, there was retroactive, but he was saying, "Hey, you know, you didn't know." And the response is much the same. And he, in fact, this time, rather than just dismissing him and saying, you better get out of here if you know what's good for you, Einar Fly actively threatens him. But the king is there. And this is much like when you're on the playground and like you go and make sure you kind of have a little fight with the bully in front of the teacher so that they see, did you see what they just said? Right? And so King Harold's like, "Hey, let's all calm down here. Holly, I think you should drop this. I think you should leave this well enough alone. But Einar, please don't hurt my court poet. He's funny." So Einar goes back to Sigurd, or rather, I keep doing this. There's so many Einars in this story. Holly goes back to Sigurd, and Sigurd's like, "Okay, you've asked again. You got the same answer again, but this time worse. You got a threat. Let's just call it off. It's all, the whole thing is off. None of it. In fact, I will give you my armband. I know you didn't win this bet, but I will literally give you the armband right now so that you don't keep pressing this matter, because I'd rather you be alive than deal with any of this anymore." And Holly's like, "You are truly the best of men, Sigurd. You are a great friend, and that is so kind and noble of you, but I'm going to try one more time." And so the next morning, Holly goes up to Einar Fly and the king once again. And he says, "Oh, King Harold, my lord, I had this really interesting dream last night. It was so weird. You see, do you remember, back, a few years back, when, goodness gracious, I cannot remember the poet's name. Well,
I'm sure it's another Einar.
It's probably another Einar. I actually think it was like a Thorstein, so we're just gonna go with that. There's a lot of those.
It was Iceland. It was a Thorstein. It was a Thor something.
I think this was actually in Norway. So because this is King Harold in Norway, right?
Yeah.
So there was a Norwegian poet, Thorstein, who wrote that very famous slanderous poem about I know this. The Earl of Lada, or Hakon of Lada. I know it. I got it. Names.
Right there.
This may or may not be my second gin and lemonade. So,
gin and
so remember that poet who wrote that super slanderous and ruinous poem about Earl Hakon of Lada? He completely destroyed his reputation.
Totally remember that.
Well, I had this really, really weird dream last night where, like, I was that poet. And it was so strange. It was so weird, so weird. Einar Fly was Earl Haakon. It was just such a strange coincidence. And I kind of remember some of the poem that I had composed as that poet in my dream. I just thought it was an interesting thing. Anyway, I gotta go. And he takes off down the hall, and people noted that he was muttering something under his breath, but nobody quite heard what it was. So at this point, King Harold, who knows Holly a little bit better than Einar, turns to Einar and says, "Hey, that was no empty threat there. That was no just dream he had. I believe he has fully written a poem about you, and is holding his tongue in hopes that you compensate him. And I really recommend that you do that right now." And so Einar takes a deep breath and he's like, "You're probably right." And sends a message to Holly and tells him, "All right, go to the treasurer. I've given the treasurer my purse, and take out 3 marks of silver, the 3 marks that are in my purse, and that'll be your compensation for the killing of your brother." And Holly says, "Oh, thank you so much. This is great." All right. Okay. So he goes to the treasurer and he asks for what's in the purse. And the treasurer says, "Well, there are 4 marks of silver in this purse." And Holly says, "I am to have 3 marks of silver, please." The treasurer says, "Sure, okay," and hands him over. And then he leaves. And then a little while later, sarcastic Holly goes and confronts Einar Fly. And he says, "Einar, I have your compensation. You seem to have thought to make a thief out of me by taking that 4th mark of silver in your purse. But I won't have you killing me justifiably that easily." And Einar admits, "Yes, that yeah, you got me. That was my plan. I guess you were too clever for that." And Holly successfully, silver in hand, goes back to his bench, and Sigurd turns to him and says, "I can't believe it. You really do deserve this ring. You got it. You managed to get money out of him. You won the bet." And Holly says, "This is very kind of you," but hands the ring back and says, "You were so good this whole time. You deserve to keep this ring. You are truly, truly the best of men. And I'll admit, I may have fudged the details a little. This Einar from Iceland is of no relation to me. I just wanted to see if I could get money out of him." And that is how Holly got a whole bunch of money from Einar Fly.
Well done, Holly.
So
Yeah,
lies and deceit is where we're going. Lies and deceit.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I like lies and deceit.
Oh, and I had just 2 more little memes to share. I went a little overboard. So there's the king welcoming Einar and asking him for tales from the travels, and Einar, whose stories are only about reprehensible killings.
It's the party in front.
Oh, that is like
Mullet.
Mullet, thank you. There's the word
mullet.
I'm looking for. It's the mullet that does that one. And
Yeah, Steve Carell in a mullet. Damn.
Like I was dedicated to the fanny pack as a kid. I realized that this
Oh yeah, I like this fanny pack too.
right, like as a kid, I had my asthma inhaler and I was like the fanny pack was my jam.
Yeah.
Because I could store my inhaler, I could store my
Your Bianca.
No, it's not a breathalyzer. It's the thing that you had to breathe into to see if you needed your inhaler, and it
Oh, the little tester thingy.
Yeah.
I thought you were doing the Bianca breath freshener spray.
Oh God, no.
If it were me, it would also have bottle caps and twigs and funny rocks in there.
No.
I would have had a snake or a rock or something.
I live in Alaska, guys. We don't have snakes. We don't have any Okay,
Fair.
Juneau
Whatever.
has reptiles. Southeast has reptiles. Oh, look it. There's another meme.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, sorry. Wait, there's one more. There's one more.
Same
Weird.
share. It's just him drunken on scene. Yep. Yep.
Dunking on the same guy who's been dunking on for days. Kinehild's like, oh, please, no more.
Really? Again? My God.
So that's my multimedia section of the presentation.
Oh my God. I'm
Thank you for
I'm
this,
loving the visuals. We've not had visuals on Saga Saturday before.
I wish that I had put together visuals now. Like, I regret that. But also, I am of an age where memes aren't quite the language. So
True.
we've got multiple
True.
generations going on here, and I am
Yeah.
enough of an elder millennial that memes are not the language in which I present my feelings.
Right. Yes. Yes, I totally agree. Yeah.
I'm solidly one of those Gen Zs that for
Yeah.
most of my life thought I was a millennial until someone actually told me the dates that were the cutoffs.
Yeah.
It's like Gen Zs are these, I can't even, okay. So I have, in our household, we have baby brother, and baby brother is in fact a Gen Z. And every so often he's like, I was born in 1997. I'm like, nobody was born in the 90s. What the fuck are you talking about?
My
My
daughter was born in the 90s.
That's very upsetting.
Hey, Kinehild, you realize that little brother there is a year older than me?
Look, I'm
And
not
3
ready.
years younger than my daughter.
So
I was
don't know how to tell you.
Oh, shit. That means that Bersi is 2 years younger than my daughter. Motherfuck.
You're a child. You're a
Fuck.
This is the game that I usually play. Usually I have all these friends who are in their 40s, and I'm like, I was born in 1983. They're like, get fucked. And I'm like,
Oh my God, you're both fucking killing me.
I was born in 1998, January 20th. I'm turning 23 in.
I started high school in 1998.
Ah.
I had a 4-year-old in 1998.
Yeah.
Fuck y'all, the horse you rode in on. Good Lord.
You're a turd, Bersi. You're an absolute turd. So who's going next?
Oh, you are.
Okay, so we're gonna do hello.
Have you figured out what you're doing yet? Because as of 30 minutes ago, you didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah. Kinehild.
Really quickly, Melissa Dawson is in our chat, and she says, yeesh, I might be the oldest person here. I graduated high school in 1981.
Yeah.
That's impressive, Melissa.
You're not the oldest person in the viewing, though. I can assure you of that.
I was not born in 1981, so sorry. Mea culpa. Mea
Dying.
culpa.
Dying.
And Rusty says he's 67. He
67.
loves memes. And then Cheryl says you're infants. Infants, I tell you.
Oh, Cheryl.
So thank you for making me feel better about myself, guys.
You're not older than 67.
Because we have Bersi, who should not be old enough to speak, never mind speak multiple languages. That jackass.
My favorite Potter graduated high school in 1967. So yeah, no, Melissa, you're not the oldest person around here.
Okay, so guys, here's the thing, is we have been doing a lot of Norse stuff, and I was brought into this to talk about Anglo-Saxon shit. And I don't know how to tell you all this, but the Anglo-Saxons are actually better than the Norse because they wrote shit down.
Whatever.
They wrote shit down. They wrote shit down.
Where's my axe?
Much better for historians because we can look back on their written documents and we can be like,
People
yo,
with your documentation and shit.
we may not know what the clothing is called, but we don't care. That's not what's important. What's important is that we know that women had books because they left them to each other in wills, and we know how they felt about things because they wrote that shit down. So I had
shall we do February as Anglo-Saxon? So
I would love that. I would love that.
Yes, please.
I am down.
All right, you guys are driving that bus. I know jack and shit about Anglo-Saxon.
Kinehild is driving that bus.
Kinehild's driving that bus.
That's
I'm
okay.
excited
I
to do
have
some
3
readings.
bottles of beer in.
So I'm writing that down on my. You can't see it. It's my show post-it.
All right. Okay. So February is going to be Anglo-Saxon month. That's awesome. I love Anglo-Saxon month. So here's the thing, though, is I was brought on to do Anglo-Saxon shit, and we haven't done a lot of that. We've been really focusing on the Norse stuff. That's cool. That's fine. The Norse deserve their time in the sun, but here's the thing, the Anglo-Saxons are better.
But only for a few months out of the year, you see.
What?
The Norse only enjoy their time in the sun a few months out of the year.
That's fair.
My God.
Yes, so Melissa, you're right. Saxons rule, Vikings rule. So here's the thing, is then it was like, okay, what Saxon story am I going to do? We could do the story of St. Hilda, but the story of St. Hilda is really short. Basically, Hilda is a cool lady. She is a cool lady. And she calls a conclave at Whitby, and they decide to follow the Church of Rome instead of the Church of Ireland. Fine, cool. But that's the story, right? Like, that's the entire story. And then it was like, well, I could do the Dream of the Rood, right? Dream of the Rood, famous Anglo-Saxon poem, but it's basically like, I talked to the cross, and the cross had a dream about when it was a tree, but then it also had Jesus hanging off of it.
Yeah.
And it gets really esoteric, and I'm not great when I'm this drunk at explaining esoterica. So we're going to skip esoteric. And instead, guys, here's the thing. We're going to do Beowulf. We're going to do a speed run through Beowulf.
Speed run of Beowulf! Yeah!
Speed run of Beowulf.
Oh, Lord have mercy. All right.
I'm
Bros!
so stoked. Wait, can I
Bros!
get the axe?
In this hall, my bros. Okay. So I want you all to start. You're sitting in the hall. We're in the great hall, right? The fire is burning down the middle of the hall. We've all got our drink, and we've got our friends, and we've got our Exen Ysetala, our shoulder companions, and we're doing the thing, right? So, bros, first we're going to start with the bagats. So we start with shield chefing.
So many bagats.
Oh, look at that, an axe! Fucking brilliant. Okay, so we start with shield chefing. Shield chefing begat a son who begat a son who begat Beowulf. And we go down a few things. Now we've got Beowulf. And Beowulf, he is the perfect warrior. He is good to his friends. He is good to his enemies. That's cool. That's awesome. Okay, so he goes to Sweden, we think. Right? Like, it's Sweden flavored. And my friend about gaming. Do I want to cancel? I don't want to cancel. Keep gaming, guys. Do your thing. So we go to Sweden, and Beowulf arrives, and the herald comes down, and the herald's like, who are you who comes among us bearing arms? And Beowulf is like, I am Beowulf, son of this guy, son of this guy, son of shield, and I am here to answer the call. And he arrives, and the herald's like, fuck yeah, my guy, you are a dude. Come with me to, fuck, I just forgot the name of the hall. It is the hall shitballs. What's the name of the hall, guy?
Sorry.
Hrothgar is the guy.
The guy, no, it's,
he comes to the hall.
It starts with an H. Heorot.
You're on mute.
Oh, we can't hear you.
You're on mute. No, seriously, you're still on mute.
We can't hear you.
We can't.
Stop.
We can't hear you. You're on mute. What did you do? Oh, for the love of God, this is why we don't do this drunk. Your mouth is moving, but I can't hear anything. And yes, it is totally Herod. Google says so. I don't know what's going on in here.
Chat function.
Oh my God. Seriously, it doesn't say you're muted on this side though.
I'm asking if she changed her audio. I asked if she changed her audio input for her computer.
No.
Ooh. Oh. I love her image.
It doesn't say you're muted on this side though.
Oh, I can hear you. I'm asking if
Can anybody hear me?
Yes. Audio. Yeah. I'm hearing.
I can hear you, but turn off your sound, your computer sound, because we can hear the 30 seconds ago delay on Facebook.
Oh, I can hear you.
Testing.
Yes.
Yes. We can still hear the
Still
back.
an echo.
Turn off your sound of your
This is
Okay,
so fun.
guys, can you hear me?
We can
Yes,
still hear
Somebody
you.
give me a thumbs up or not. I don't
We're
know.
good.
Okay, I've got a thumbs up from Ula. I
We
can't
have
hear you
audio
guys,
and no
so-
echo. You can't
Who
hear
the fuck
anything
knows?
now?
Anyway, okay. So he arrives at Heorot. And I don't know what Bersi is doing to his horn.
Oh my God, we have gotten way
So
off
you
the
do you,
rails.
my guy. So he arrives at Heorot and he is like, yo, I am Beowulf. I am here to help. And we're actually not sure if Beowulf is his name. It's this whole moment. But anyway, whatever. So Beo arrives and he's like, I'm here to help. And so he hangs out in the hall. They welcome him with drink. The lady with the mead comes along, the mead horn. We have this whole like moment, right? And then they go to sleep and they are awakened in the middle of the night because here comes Grendel, the monster, the Vile, and he arrives and he beats some people up and Beowulf's like, the fuck you say? And he's like, ha-cha! And anyway, so Beowulf is like, okay, I gotta fight this guy. So he goes and he fights Grendel and he comes back, he defeats Grendel. Look at that axe, badass. So he defeats Grendel and he comes back and he displays Grendel's arm and shoulder because that's a bit of a monster you want to see, right? So he displays the arm and the shoulder and he's like, look what I did. And the people of the hall are like, fuck yeah, my guy, you did do that. That is badass. And so then they're like, okay, we got to hold a feast. We got to have a party. We got to do the thing. So they do. They hold the party. They tell the story of Finn and his wife and his wife's family who all die at the same battle because why not? Why not have everybody die in one battle? That's fine. So they all die in one battle. Finn's wife, whose name I can't remember, also is very sad because all of her relatives have died. And she's fine with it, though. It's cool. She does her job. And I think she kills her husband. Anyway, so we move on. So now we've killed Grendel. But there's another thing in Grendel's mare, which is interesting. So here's a really brief moment, right? So mare is a term in Old English, M-E-R-E, meaning a sea or a lake. It's a body of water. Mare can also mean, M-A-R-E, is a female horse, right? And a female horse that, if I remember correctly, is breedable. So it's always one of these moments where I'm like, Grendel's mare, where it's Grendel's lake, but also Grendel's mother. And this is not intentional. This is not an Anglo-Saxon moment. This is just, this is a modern English moment. We have these two homonyms that sound, homonym meaning sounds the same, that sound the same, and they mean different things, but it's this whole moment. Anyway, so Grendel's mare, both Grendel's lake and Grendel's mother, he fights Grendel's mother and he comes back and he goes into the lake and he dives deep and he fights the monster. His sword breaks and it's terrible, but it's fine because, okay, we move on. And he finds another sword and he fights the monster and he defeats Grendel's mother and it's all cool. And he comes back to the hall and he's like, guys, I got this. Grendel's mother dead, Grendel dead, check, moving on. And so he goes back to wherever he came from. I can never remember, I think it's Denmark. And he takes on the role of rulership, right? He is the perfect prince now. He has gone to another kingdom. He has fought their monsters. He has served well with his exanistea, his shoulder companions. He has said what in every possible connotation. He has done all the things he is supposed to do. He's been generous with his largesse. He has received largesse from others, all the good things. So now he is settled in his kingdom. He is ruling as a lord. And then another monster. The dragon comes, the beast from the deep. And he's like, well, I got to do my job, man. I am here as your prince. I got to do my thing. So he goes out to face them. And we have with him his young companion, his nephew. And there was that interesting discussion that we had when we did Beowulf is a larger discussion about whether or not this nephew was in fact a sister's son, and the importance of the female descent in Beowulf, and whether or not that was indicative of a matrilocal or matrilineal descent in early Anglo-Saxon or early Germanic culture. The poem is not actually particularly clear. So it's just his nephew that happens, right? Like, so his nephew comes along with him, and his nephew hears his last words. And of course, this is not, 13th Warrior, where he says, "Here do I see my family stretching back to the beginning." But if you were not aware 13th Warrior is a retelling of Beowulf, like if you hadn't figured that one out yet, that's what that is. So anyway, like, I want everyone to visualize he's sitting on the wall. "Lo, there do I see my family stretched back to the beginning," right? Like, have that Beowulf moment with me, please, that 13th Warrior moment, because it's this beautiful visual, right? Like, I want you to visualize that hunky Swede about to die on the ramparts. I need this in my life. Anyway, so he is out there, he's ready to face the dragon. And he goes out, he fights the dragon, and he dies. And it's terrible, but that's his job. He is the perfect prince. He has to have the perfect prince's death. It is necessary. And there goes Bersi down as the perfect Bersi, the perfect prince. Bersi, if I ever fight in Cornet again, I'll fight for you, I promise. Anyway, so Bersi dies not Bersi, Beowulf dies, the perfect prince. And he does his job, and they end up defeating the dragon, all is well, the world is perfect, and they have this moment where they're like, "Okay, guys, we need to bury Beowulf in a proper rite." And so they bury Beowulf, and in a cairn, under a cairn is a pile of stones, under a cairn on a headland where everyone can see it and remember Beowulf's perfection and his everything he needed to be, because he was the perfect prince. He was generous in victory, he was stalwart in battle, he did all the things that a prince has to do. It was, anyway, Beowulf, like, if I Kinehild ever had a crush on anybody, I had a crush on Beowulf, because he is perfect. He is everything that you need a prince to be, right? He is generous, he is stalwart, he is brave. Stalwart means brave, so I guess I'm just saying that twice, but whatever, I don't care. I'm sure he was handsome, right? Like, he had like the scars, he probably had like the scarred eyebrow thing, which is always frankly hot.
That's pretty sexy. That scarred eyebrow.
But
you can't.
Anyway,
yeah,
that's the story of Beowulf.
Keep the lips.
That is my speed run. I can't hear my co-hosts. I'm gonna have to jump out of this Zoom and jump back, because I don't
know what you have done. All right. Well,
I'm just seeing
you head out and come back.
I don't know. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Well, Bersi's muted, but Ula's not. So anyway, Beowulf, I love him.
Beowulf, that was like Beowulf, and like, she can't hear me.
Not kick him out of bed. So that's my story.
Just talking to myself now.
I'm gonna leave this Zoom chat now and come back.
I don't even fucking know. Oh my God, that was ridiculous. And I have never heard Beowulf told in, that was like 10 minutes.
I know, that was by far the shortest version I've ever seen. Yeah.
Shortest version of Beowulf ever. I just got a message asking if the feed had cut out. No. Huh. Hang on. Sorry. Technical difficulties.
We're sort of on the tech difficulties.
And a refill.
Oh, you're refilling? Well, I guess I have to do some jokes while you refill, and then I can refill. I will admit, because I have power. Co-hosting.
I have a cabana boy. Oh, you have power. You were able to let her in.
Yeah.
I can hear you again.
Yay!
I could hear nothing through the Beowulf story.
Well, while you were gone, we were just complimenting you on how incredibly concise that retelling was. We've never heard.
I've never heard Beowulf in 10 minutes before.
Yeah, that was truly expert speedrun strats you just displayed. Thank you very much.
I am here to speed run my way through Beowulf.
Sorry, there's apparently, let's try this. Let's try. Oh, a lot of champagne for trying to type. Sorry, I just got a message from Tulia that the feed dropped out, and sorry, so I was like resharing the link. I have far too many Facebook windows open now for being as not sober as I am. All right, so seriously, the shortest telling of Beowulf in the history of Beowulf. Let's see.
Like, I hit the high points, right? Like, you've got hot Beowulf. You've got hot Beowulf kills two monsters, possibly three. I think he actually kills the dragon, but he dies in the attempt. It doesn't matter.
Beowulf always kind of, in my mind, ever since seeing 13th Warrior, kind of always looks a little bit like Antonio Banderas.
That's interesting because Beowulf isn't Antonio Banderas in that
No,
movie.
I know. I just like Antonio Banderas.
Like, that's fair. Like, Antonio, I mean, that's fine. That's fair. Antonio Banderas, not my archetype, but it's, it's like,
I wouldn't kick that man out of bed for eating crackers. I might even buy him some fucking crackers.
and I don't know who it is. And I always love where they're like, they speak Old Norse in this movie. And I'm like, no, they don't. But that's cute.
That's Pigeon Norse, but all right.
Like, they speak Greek in the movie. That's always fun. Where he's like, this is like the Arabic dude is the older Arabic dude is like, this is Greek. I remember just being completely blown away that 13th Warrior was Beowulf. Like, I ended up reading Eaters of the Dead for high school. So 12th grade AP Lit, I did Beowulf as my like major project book. And my one of my friends was like, well, why didn't you just do speed dating Beowulf?
Speed dating Beowulf.
So why didn't you just do The Hobbit? And I'm like, because The Hobbit, I don't actually like The Hobbit. Like, I don't know how to tell you this, but I don't enjoy it. I like Lord of the Rings. So the first chapter book.
You would like the Lord of the Rings, but it takes an Old Norse or an Old English scholar to be like, you know what? I think the more confusing and more complex, less storybook version of the tale is the better one.
Right?
Here's the thing.
Here's walking.
Here's what you need to know is that the first chapter book my mom ever read me was Lord of the Rings. She was like, you're 3. I'm done with this baby book shit. I'm bored.
Fair.
I'm not having any fun. We're going to just dive into Lord of the Rings.
This explains everything.
This explains so much. Well, one of my favorite books as a kid, I had because I'm old, I had the audio, like the 45 of The Hobbit with the cartoon book that went with it. And I had my own record player in my room. So I would listen to The Hobbit, like the kids' Hobbit, every night. And it was amazing. So I'm going to go on a little funny tangent for a second, because before I go to mine. So the first time I drove to Estrella, I was driving from Portland. Portland to Phoenix is a 24-hour drive, if you're iron-assing it all the way through. 22 on the way back because I was driving. But on the way down, my ex and I picked up a friend of ours, and we were doing this whole trip, and we actually took like 3 or 4 days to go down there. We visited a friend in LA. We went through Hoover Dam, blah, blah. But we got out of town, out of Portland later than expected. And my now ex-husband was driving. I was taking a nap because I was going to take the night shift. And we had been on the road a couple of hours. Like, we were south of Eugene, probably not yet we weren't yet to the California border. So, I don't know, 2-3 hours. And I had dozed off, and I wake up, and we had been listening to the Lord of the Rings on audiobook on the drive. And we were just a couple hours out, and I dozed off. I woke up, and the only line I said is, "Motherfucker, they're not out of the Shire yet." And that was when we pulled Lord of the Rings out and we put in something else, because I was not going to listen to that the next 20 some hours.
So, Dad and I went to Iceland like 5, 6, 7 years ago now. I don't know. And Dad and I's Iceland trip, my dad basically went along. I was like, this is the best thing ever. And I spent the entire trip just being like, this is so great. And this is so great. There's first day we were there, we went to the National Museum. And there's the whole first floor is Viking Age shit. And I basically walked around the first floor just being like, this is this, and this is this, and this is this. And I had this little crowd of American tourists following me.
Right.
I was speaking English. And so I was being like their docent, right? This is so cool. And my dad's just like, this is my daughter. This is her moment. She's having a moment.
We're gonna be here all day.
Right. So that whole trip was basically me being like, guys, this is so cool. My dad be like, I'm related to that one. I don't know how I feel about it right now, but
your dad should be honored and proud.
So we get to Akureyri, which is in the north of Iceland, and from Akureyri to Islestather, we listened to Beowulf, read by Seamus Heaney, right? And we're passing through some just really phenomenally beautiful country. It's windy, it's rainy, we're having a whole weather moment, and we've got Seamus Heaney's dulcet Irish tones reading us Beowulf, which is, if you guys haven't listened to an audio copy of Beowulf, do yourself a favor, get Seamus Heaney's version. It's like 2.5 hours long.
And also get his side-by-side old English.
I love it. I love his side-by-side. It is amazing. It's like my go-to Beowulf reference.
The copy that I have, he signed because he came to the University of Iowa and he gave a speech as the poet laureate, or poet. He gave a speech about poetry. I didn't care. I like show up. I'm the only undergrad in the room, and I'm like, I need you to sign this. Like, I have feelings about this poetry.
Nerd.
Anyway, it's signed. He was like, this is weird, but I don't care. Anyway, so listen to Seamus Heaney's audio of him reading his translation of Beowulf. It is the most beautiful, because he is a poet approaching Beowulf. Yeah. There's chunks left out. Yes, there's decisions that are made, but it's a poet's Beowulf. And so you get this beautiful, pure version of sort of what a poet sees in that manuscript. And it is poetry. It is a poet has to be the translator. Anyway, so it's phenomenal. So we're driving through Iceland, through the wind, through the rain, everything. And we're listening to Seamus Heaney. And I just, like, I had a whole moment. I was like, this is what my life means. It is.
Honey.
It is sheep hollows. It is everything. And it is Seamus Heaney's beautiful Irish tones reading me the story of heroic Beowulf. I had a whole thing, and my dad was just like,
cool. I'm just gonna keep driving.
So he didn't drive that whole trip. Like, I drove all the way around to Iceland. He was like, I'm the navigator, and he can't pronounce shit for Irish names or Icelandic names. Neither can I, frankly. So he'd be like he's the greatest navigator, because he'd be like, street beginning AEFL, and you're like, okay, just like so the man used to be a surveyor in rural Alaska, right? Like, he knows his maps, he knows what he's about. And he'd just be like, street beginning, and you're like, looking for the street beginning. Cool, check.
Yep.
Anyway, my dad's the best. I love the man. He's so weird.
I don't know your family, but everything that I have heard, seen, whatever about your family, and the 30 seconds of Ursula last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever that was. Oh my God. I adore your family.
So Dad, you got to understand, Dad is like, he used to be 6'8", now he's 6'6", right? Like, he's got this beard.
Right.
He like moseys in. He made best friends, so they went to Pakistan a few years ago to see a friend get married. He just like moseys around. Like, Pakistan loved him because they're like, you're super tall and you've got this big beard. You fit just fine. So he's got the hat. They're like, you should dye that with henna. And he's like, that's weird, but cool. I like you. And he's like super extroverted. He's the family extrovert. So we like deploy him in specific situations where we're like,
oh, you have your own trained extrovert. Those are awesome.
Exactly.
Extrovert bombs. I love them. I will
tell the story and then I'll let you get onto your story. So we were in Iceland and we're at this gas station, right? And it's this gas, like the pumps. It has like a physical pump.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Gas. And I go inside to get a Snickers bar or something. I come out and my dad and this guy are having this deep conversation. The guy is speaking Icelandic. Dad is speaking English. Dad does not speak other languages. Like he speaks enough French to say je voudrais un bière vert, but that's his foreign language, right? And he can speak a little bit of Spanish, but no Icelandic. And he's having this conversation with this guy in Icelandic because it's the same gas pump that he worked on when he was a kid. So they're like talking about this gas pump. They're like connecting on a primal level about this gas pump. And I'm just like, I got my Snickers bar. I'm good. Dad still sends that guy a Christmas card. I fucking guarantee it. Like this is the connection he makes. Like they don't speak the same language. They are not having a conversation wherein they can be like, my name is Joe. Well, my name's Leroy, right? Like,
oh my God.
Just like my dad is the greatest. My family is fantastic. My dad is the greatest. Anyway.
All right.
And I'd like to be in your luggage next time you go to Iceland.
Right.
I will. Bersi, next time I go to Iceland, I will absolutely. There's a West Kingdom Goes to Double Wars group.
Is there?
I have been trying to get to Double Wars.
I would love to go to Double Wars.
I was supposed
on the list for a long time.
It's like West Kingdom Goes to Double Wars 2022. And you should both go because Bersi, you could be our tour guide and be like, I speak Swedish, where I'm like, I talar lilla dansk.
Well, you don't need to. I'll definitely be your tour guide. And I don't really speak Swedish.
Don't tell people that. Just be like, yeah, I speak Swedish. And then when you get there, be like, I'm speaking English. You all speak English.
I can get you around way better than most because I also know how the bus systems work now.
Huge bonus. Absolutely
download.
A huge bonus.
I know exactly how to find, like, to get money out, where the ICAs are. We'll be set.
The best I can do is to do the soft D in Danish, where you're like, yes, this is roll call. That's a word. Roll call. You're like, the fuck is that nonsense?
Don't know that that's actually going to get us anywhere, but all right.
It'll get us red cabbage. That's what it will get us.
Red cabbage. Woo!
It's so tasty, though. It's so good.
All right.
I really don't.
All right.
Tell your story.
All right.
Myself.
So, I'm going to tell you guys about Ref the Sly.
Yes. I love Ref.
Ref the Sly. He's fucking badass, by the way.
Yeah.
Really does some damage and gets away with it. So we start in Iceland. Sorry, hairball. So we start in Iceland. Ref is the son of a farmsteader and his wife. He's known to be big and strong, but lazy. Super lazy. Just doesn't actually, like, he doesn't put it in, right? So their neighbor is a grumpy old man that nobody likes. He's killed people and gotten away with it, never had to pay retribution. Nobody likes him. However, Ref's dad and this other farmsteader, they're able to work out their differences, kind of, they work it out. Once Ref's dad dies, not so much with the working out the issues. So the farmstead falls to Ref's mom, and dickhead neighbor allows his cattle or allows his livestock to overgraze her land, and just so she doesn't have any feed for the next year. She has to slaughter some of her animals to make it through the winter because they don't have any food, or the animals don't have any food. So you might as well kill them instead of starving them to death. And it's all because dickhead neighbor overgrazed her land. So that happens 1 year. Next summer, she goes to all things. She hires a well-renowned animal herder dude that's going to watch the stuff. He moves on to her property. He builds a couple of like outpost huts, and he spends all of his time out in the field. He rarely comes into the house. And he stops the dickhead neighbor from letting his cattle. So there's a river that divides the properties. So dickhead neighbor, his livestock stays on one side, ref's livestock and stays on the other side. All right. All right. So things go well, except dickhead neighbor, his wife just picks at him and gnats at him until he kills the herdsman and lets his livestock graze on this amazing grassland. Not only does he overgraze the lands, but he lets the livestock into her like harvested fields. They knock down and eat all of the hay that she was drying for winter. Big old shitstorm. So now we have a dead herdsman, right? So this requires retribution. Yeah. So Ref's mom gives him the riot act. He's like, all right, I'll go deal with it. Ref goes to this dickhead neighbor and says, hey, dude, you killed my farmhand. I want retribution. Dickhead neighbor is like, screw you. And your sheep you rode in on. I'm not doing it. Ref, dickhead neighbor offers Ref a dull blade and a whetstone in retribution. Basically saying, like, that is like the worst insult in the world, to give you a dull blade and a whetstone. So Thorbjorn basically says, fuck this, and kills dickhead neighbor. Hides in a wood pile until nighttime so that the dickhead neighbor's farmhands don't find him, and buggers on home. Mom sends him off to her brother at a different farmstead in a different settlement until it all blows, it'll eventually, it'll pass over. It'll be fine. So there on this new farmstead, he's welcomed with open arms. Everything is great. And this is where we find that Ref is actually not just a lazy farmhand or a lazy son, but he is quite skilled in construction. Amazingly, like, he's never built a thing in his life, but he is quite skilled in construction. When he was younger, he had received a toy boat from a visitor's son. There's a toy boat involved. So he builds for his uncle this seaworthy trading vessel based off of this toy boat. And it is seaworthy, and it is amazing, and it only took him 6 months to build, and it's fantastic. So he's fantastic fucking boat. In said fantastic fucking boat, he sails to Greenland. Because why would you stay in Iceland? So he goes to Greenland and comes across, across the water. He met a man named Bjorn. So, yeah, right? Bjorn. Yeah, Bjorn, bears. Everybody loves a good bear. So he stays with Bjorn. Bjorn hires him to build buildings because he's an amazing craftsman that magically does this shit. Bjorn also has an amazingly beautiful daughter, as is known, right? She's the catch of the settlement. Everybody's trying to woo her. She marries Ref, because that's what you do. So, yeah, right. Ref and Helgi live a fantastic life together. They have 3 sons. It's awesome. Eventually, Ref and his wife inherit the family farm. Like, yeah, it's all good. So, near the farm lived another shitty neighbor. We're seeing a lot of shitty neighbors. So, shitty neighbor Thorgils is hateful, and he's difficult, pain in the ass to deal with. He's got 3 grumpy sons, all pain in the ass. One day, Ref is out building a new whatever building, as he builds shit all the time. And he always locked his tools up in the building and then came home at night. On his way home, he is weaponless and he runs across a polar bear. What do you do when you run across a polar bear?
You go inside. You don't fight them.
Exactly. So he backtrails it, goes back to the building that he was working on, gets his axe, and comes back out, hoping that the polar bear is gone. Polar bear's gone because the polar bear has been killed by the sons of Dickhead Neighbor. Okay. All right, fine, great. Dickhead Neighbor's sons are praised because they were able to kill this polar bear, blah, 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 blah. However, Dickhead Neighbor and sons also then start spreading rumors that Ref is effeminate, he is a homosexual, he is not a good guy because he didn't fight this polar bear, because he didn't have a weapon on him at the time.
I would just like to point out that in Alaska, we don't fight polar bears. We run away from polar bears because polar bears are an apex predator and polar bears are hungry all the
time.
And they're not like grizzly bears, black bears. There's steps you can take. Polar bears, just get the fuck out. You don't fight them. You get the fuck
Don't fight a polar bear.
Black
Especially
bears,
one weaponless man. Like, just don't do that.
Yeah. I feel like most Westerners, we're very familiar with black bears, which you don't fight because you scare them away.
And they run away. Polar bears don't run the fuck away.
No.
Polar bears are hungry, and you are a large protein source.
Uh-huh.
Not even as large as they normally get. You're like an appetizer.
It's true.
Not much blubber on you.
So, rumors are getting spread around the settlement. Things are going bad. Dickhead Neighbor and his sons are generally dickheads. This thing is really driving me nuts. Sorry, it's like slipping off my head. So, our hero Ref, it's like, he tries to talk to him. Doesn't do any good. They're still dickheads. He then slaughters and sells all of his livestock for money. He sells his farm with basically a lease back plan that the new buyers can take possession once he's gone. Okay? So he doesn't have to move out right away. So it took a couple of months to do, like over the winter, it does all of this. Once his affairs have been settled, Ref goes and confronts Dickhead Neighbor and says, hey, you're being a dickhead, retract it. Guy's like, nope, I stand by my word. So Ref kills the dude. And then hides and, goes to the boathouse and kills his 3 sons as they come in from fishing one day. Now, he knows he's got to get the hell out of there. So he's already sold everything. All he has is necessary possessions and money. Loads his wife and kids and a handful of men onto a ferry, disappears. People start to look for him, and there's nothing there. Can't find him anywhere. So Gunnar is now the next highest dude in the totem pole in the settlement, right? So Gunnar's like, yeah, can't find him anywhere. So at this time, Harald Hardrada is king of Norway. So one of his dudes goes to Greenland on a expedition and to bring back goods and the things you can only get in Greenland, furs and such like that.
This is before Harald Hardrada has a bad day on a bridge, I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, yes, everything that happens to him in his life, I would assume, would happen before he had that bad day.
Indeed, everything kind of has to, because the arrow, the eye, the thing.
That would be the day.
An arrow in the eye. That's Harold Godwinson. Harold Hardrada.
Oh shit, you're right.
The Anglo-Saxons, excuse you, the old English people, the early medieval English are like, fuck you, Vikings, and they stab them by rolling under a bridge. And
yes. No, you're totally right. Wrong, Harold.
Once again, the English are better than the Norse.
Oh, zip it. Zip it. All right, so dude from Norway goes to Greenland to get the things. The place that he lands, is this settlement. He runs into Gunnar, and Gunnar's like, I'll get you some awesome shit to take home, but I need your help with this dude that killed our people and disappeared. So Bard, the guy from Norway, is like, I don't know, but if you give me cool things, I'll go ask my king, and my king will have great advice, because kings are all knowing. So Bard returns to Norway to King. Yeah, I know.
Or at least they're a good place to push responsibility to.
So he returns to Norway, brings to King Harold a walrus skull that's like inlaid, has all of the teeth in it still, and has like chasing and inlay work, and it's amazing. And a chessboard that you can play both the old 1 king chess or the new 2 king chess game on. Quite prized.
1 king per side or 2 kings per side?
1 king. So the old game is Naffentafel. The nine and more is protect the king, and the 2 king is the modern 2 kings.
Yes,
I would just like to point out that the kings in chess are meaningless, and it's the queen who conquers.
Ding, ding, ding,
So
it's
that's
true.
my moment. I'm gonna go away again.
It also brings back a trained, fully grown polar bear, because who doesn't love a trained, fully grown polar bear?
That polar bear is not trained. That polar bear is looking for its next meal, and it's like, you're feeding me now.
I know.
And when you stop feeding me, I will make food out of you.
Yeah. I'm all right with this arrangement for now.
For now, until I get hungry again in 30 seconds. Yeah.
You guys, have either of you read, I'm sorry, Ula, have either of you read the Golden Compass books?
I knew you were gonna. I have read 10 pages, and then I don't know why I stopped, and then I haven't.
The Panzerbjorn, the armored bears.
I know, I love that.
I want a Panzer bear.
The imagery of that, I was like, that's my shit.
I like,
oh my God.
I would be okay, so it's a complex moment, but like an armored bear, I want an armored bear. I would be an armored bear. I like, them's my people, yo. Anyway, sorry, Ula, go ahead.
That's all right. It's all good. So, I forgot the whole problem with fucking Ref. Ref is super smart. We've determined this already. Sorry, we're gonna backtrack for a second. So Ref is super smart with this whole construction thing. So they had found, Bard and a couple of Gunnar's dudes had found Ref a fortification out, like, not just out in the woods, like up a fjord that led to another fjord that led to another fjord, sort of like, wait a motherfuck out there. I find this fortification.
We call that BFE.
Yeah, BFE. We're talking full on outback, tundra, the villages, whatever you want to call it, out there. And so they come across this structure, and when they try to set fire to the structure, water pours from the walls, puts out the fire. And they're like, well, what do we do now? We can't set it on fire because it just, water dumps down. Sorry. Then he goes back to Norway, and the King Harold says, well, obviously he has a water source. Why don't you figure out where the water source is and dig a trench to block off that water, and then, build your fire. So,
sounds like Estrella.
Yeah, totally sounds like Estrella. And the descriptions are fantastic. It's like, it has to be armpit deep on a warrior, and it has to be, a horse width of wide, and like it's really quite complicated and kind of crazy.
Really, I'm sorry, Ula. Again, I'm gonna.
No, that's what.
Armpit deep on a warrior.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Is the warrior taller or shorter than the general population?
As a warrior, as a
also,
fighter,
and we are short warriors, whereas Kinehild got a couple of inches on us and is also a warrior.
Yeah, as a fighter in the SCA who's 5'2", I will say that armpit height
Yeah.
on some of these people would drown me
No doubt. No
instantly,
doubt. Same.
fully over
Same.
my head.
There is, it's just, it needs to be armpit deep.
How
Or
are you 5'2"? How is that the height for an adult human?
All right. My daughter's 4'11".
Oh, wow.
Seriously, I am the short person. I am the shortest member of my family, including my cousin who's just graduating high school, right? At 5'8", I am the shorty McShorterson. And they're all like, all the lattas are like 6 foot plus, right? And then, okay, so my mom is 5'5".
For those of us from the shorter end of the scale, fuck you.
I'm just like, how do you...
My family. So here's the thing, though, Kinehild. My family is also not that short. My mom's side of the family, a little shorter. Side, she's I think 5'5" or something. And then my dad is 5'10", the shortest of his brothers. But my brother is almost a foot taller than me. He's over 6 feet tall.
That's just not fair.
My
And
grandfather was like 7 foot and we called him Shorty.
oh no, see, yeah, no,
God.
I am very, very short for my family as well as for the rest of the population.
Yeah, at 5'2", I would call you shorty, and I am not a tall person.
My sister calls me, like, my sister makes fun of me for being short because she's 6 foot. But I, like, as a kid, I had a lot of lung issues, and so they put me on steroids to like deal with my asthma at a fairly young age. And that makes you short and fat. So I have a 6 foot arm span, but I'm 5'8". So I was cheated 4 fucking inches.
You
and
were screwed.
Still mad. I am still mad because my baby sister is a 6 foot tall blonde ballerina.
Yep.
I am 5'8". I am shorter than all of my cousins. I've got one cousin who was in the NFL for a hot minute, who's like 6'6" and is stacked, I think is the best way to put that.
I'm gonna have to go look them up now.
Yeah, Gregory Latta. He's really cool. He's very quiet though. His sisters. He's got 2 sisters, Leslie and Lauren, and they're fantastic. Leslie is a phenomenal cook. Lauren is just like the sweetest human being on the planet. And then I've got a baby cousin, Juliet. And Juliet, it's so sweet. She keeps being like, I've heard of this band. Have you heard of this band? I'm like, oh, honey. Oh, baby. Like, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're like 16. And
I was going to say, it's probably like AC/DC or something.
I've heard of the band. Well, and I was trying to get her into Grateful Dead. Because she's into, like, I was trying to get her, and she's like, my dad likes Grateful Dead. I can't like it. And I'm like, just let it go. Like, Grateful Dead. Listen to Grateful Dead. It's driving that train high on cocaine. That will upset your parents. Listen to it.
It's true. It's true. That's a great song, though.
It is a great song.
All right, back to Ref the Sly.
Tell your story.
Stop it. Back to Ref the Sly. All right, so Kinehild says, dig up the water lines and set fire to the building again. All right. So Bart goes back to Greenland, meets up with Gunnar, and says, my king has a plan. All right. So they go up to this fortification. They dig these armpit deep trenches, and they set this fortification on fire. So when they set the fortification on fire, one of the walls drops down. Oh my God, that hurts. Sorry, I goobered up my shoulder. I can't be Italian right now. So one of the walls falls down, the wall closest to the water, and out comes Ref and his eldest son in a boat on rollers to get into the sea, and kills 4 of Bard's guys and Gunnar's guys in the process. Then he's in the water. And now we have a boat race. So all of Gunnar and Bard's guys jump into their boat, and they are sailing and rowing to beat the band. However, Ref, clever monkey that Ref is, being the sly guy, he slowly lowers his sail. So he's the slower boat. He slowly lowers his sail so that the other boat overtakes them. And in that process, Ref throws a spear, pins Barty through the chest to the floorboards of his boat, and Ref then, buggers out. So they keep chasing, and he's just that far enough ahead. So now Ref has gotten away again. Ref and his family now flee to Norway. Right? Bold choice here. So they go to Norway. Ref takes on this alias. And they rent a house. And at one point, his wife is home alone while Ref, under his alias, is out about town doing business. Harold has called an assembly in town and is doing kingly things, as kings do. One of Harold's men, Grania, something.
Probably
Grani, yeah, it's Grani. So he tries to woo away Ref's wife. Wooing is a very loose term for what he was trying to do. Yeah, woo, yeah. So, but Ref spied him through the window, kills Grani, ties, pulls him out of the house and pins him to a fence and covers him with wood and leaves and stuff like that. But then he feels bad because he doesn't want to be accused of murder.
I mean, he just killed this guy, so...
Fair. But
no, I committed a murder. I hope I don't get accused of committing a murder.
Right. Yeah. So he goes to the assembly where King Harold is and confesses the murder in riddle. And I'm actually going to read the riddle out of the book because I can't do this properly from memory. All right.
That's good. That's because this is some legal trickery.
Exactly. So he's confessing the murder to the king, but he does it in riddle, and you have to decipher it.
Can I quickly, before you go into the riddle, a killing doesn't necessarily have to be illegal.
Exactly.
Killings isn't but murder is. Murder is when it is an illegal killing, a killing that hasn't. And one of the things that makes something murder is if you don't announce it to the public once it's been done.
Exactly.
A public killing, like I killed this guy and I'm proud of it because I did it for a reason. Here's my reason.
Yep.
And so this is a little...
It's kind of like a little juke and jive because he's confessing it, but it's done in riddle that has to be deciphered.
Right.
So, one of the things that I've always thought was really fun was in Anglo-Saxon law codes and early English law codes, you differentiate between manslaughten, meaning manslaughter, and murder. And manslaughten had a different, so if you committed manslaughten, you had committed a different crime. And so you had different recompense, which like the Norse, we have the Gragos laws is I think the earliest laws, right? Yes. But Anglo-Saxons, we've got laws going back to like the 6th century, and they're written down because they adopted Christianity early, which means they adopted writing as an early concept. And so you've got these early law codes, and in the early law codes, they're like, okay, so here's murder, and murder you owe this much in were guilt, and were means man. So if you're ever curious, like what werewolf means, it means man wolf.
You think?
I mean, okay, fair, Rula, that's fair, legit. But see,
I will say some people try to like switch out, put the were as something else instead of wolf, and I'm like, where'd the man go? Where did there's no man anymore.
You could have what makes me laugh is that okay, so werewolf, right? Werewolf means man wolf, but you could have like were-dolphin.
You
right?
can. Yes.
In Skyrim, there are were-bears in one of the DLCs.
Oh my god.
It makes me so happy.
You can be a werewolf, but you cannot be a were-bear, which makes me very upset personally. But you can't.
Bullshit. Like I would be a werebear. My name isn't Bear. but from a young age, right? Like from a young age, it was Claire Bear was my nickname.
Oh,
So
Of course it was.
like bear is a meaning, like I love bears because
I love bears. Let's start
right?
a
Like this is why we're friends. Bersi. You're a good person because you have the name Bear, and I love bears.
Bears
and
are great.
It works out nicely. All my stuffed animals are bears. I even have a koala bear, which isn't a bear.
That's not a bear, but it's fine.
It's a bear.
Honorary bear.
Honorary,
It's got the
dope,
cute ears.
honorary, doped up eucalyptus eating bear.
Anyway, sorry, Ula, go ahead.
That's all right. All right. So the riddle, which just cracks me up. All right. My Lord King, the two of us, Sword House Granny and I, had a soup understanding today where he told my wife he wanted to buy a swamp. I lady pigged him through the wall's eye. Then I searched it thoroughly, and then I searched it thoroughly. Then he searched it thoroughly, and I searched it thoroughly. Sorry. Then I nest-balled him, and he many-horsed at that. Then I cloak-stuffed him, my lord, and at that he tarred like a ship. And then I wild-swined him, my lord, to a wooden fence not far off, and the end I counterpaned him. So, in my reading of this, it takes a couple more paragraphs to actually get to what all that means, and seriously, y'all need to read it because it is brilliant. It is. I can't even go into it, but it's, so sheath granny is the sheath of the sword. He went around inns looking for women. So there's a drink in Iceland called misa, but misa is soup. It's much the same. So he had a misunderstanding.
Isn't Misa the milk-based alcohol, the dairy-based alcohol?
No, that's somebody's gonna pop into chat with the answer here. I'm positive of it. It's not the milk-based. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I can't think of the name of it in Norse because they also do it in like Tibet and shit. So a swamp is a moor, but a moor is intercourse. So he didn't want a swamp; he wanted sex. Lady pigged him through the wall's eye is an expression of, so lady pig is a sow, and you know that a window in the house can be an eye in the wall. So Ref saw him through the window. Like, it is the most bizarre riddle, and I'm going to stop there because it just keeps going.
I will say that if I heard a poem where someone just started listing all these weird, obviously, like, I wouldn't say euphemistic, but in some cases, right? Like
Euphemistic, kenning, sort
these
of.
weird riddle-ish things, but where they just kept talking about things that they did to one person who is now dead. I'd be a little
uncomfortable. I'm gonna go with uncomfortable.
What did you do to him, actually, though?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, like I can't feel my face right now, and I really didn't understand.
Have another beer, sweetheart.
I didn't understand the riddle. Like,
done. All right. So King Harold is super smart, and he has deciphered the riddle. He figured out that this is Rep has killed his shieldman because his shieldman was going after the wife. All right, so by now, Ref and his wife and their kids have now sailed to Denmark. He tells King Sven his story. The king, King Sven, now gives him 12 farmsteads and all of the land and assembly in exchange for Ref's son's service. So basically, he fostered the boys. And in exchange, let me tell you, I love my kid, but if I could get 12 farmsteads in anywhere, really,
we're back to the king's gift. It's the king's gift in return for service, but it's the king's gift in return for the son's service, which is an interesting.
It really is. But actually, the saga specifically says it's only the elder two. So Ref had 3 sons. It's the elder 2 that are put into service. He gets to keep the younger one.
That seems like a really good deal for Ref.
Mm-hmm.
We get like
Hell yeah.
having the king as a foster father of your sons is pretty impressive. That's a pretty powerful allyship you've been tying.
Right? Right. Like he just tied some strong bonds. I apparently need more champagne. He just tied some strong bonds with the King of Denmark. So he's now been from Iceland to Greenland to Norway to Denmark, meeting and impressing kings all along the way. Like, dude, that guy's got some skills. However, Harold from Norway, pissed. So he sends dead dude Grani, they send his brother Eric and 60 men to Denmark to kill Ref. When they get there, they get led ashore by basically put into a trap. And what it is it's Ref in disguise. So Ref changes names 3 times and is disguised multiple times. Ref reveals himself. King Sven's troops meet up with Ref's troops. All but 10 of Eric's men are killed. Ref allowed Eric to live because he'd killed his brother, and you don't want to kill 2 guys from the same family. I don't know. And then somehow King Sven gave him gold rings, and like he was like super praised. So and is normal Norse tale faction, dude, I've lost that word. This is post-Christianity. So Ref has lived a good life aside from killing, I don't know, what are we at? A half dozen guys at this point?
Not that many.
Well, we got we've got the 4. Okay, how many guys has he killed? He killed.
Look, I'm a humanities major, so I don't have to deal with numbers.
He killed. So there was the grumpy ass neighbor, number 1. Grumpy ass neighbor number 2 with his 3 sons. So now we're up to 5, plus Gandhi. No, Golly.
Grani.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're a half dozen, plus whatever random guys were sent his way. Yeah. So he's killed a shit ton of guys, but in good Norse fashion after the Christianity, he lives out his years. He eventually goes on pilgrimage to Rome, catches syphilis or some illness, and dies in France while on his way back. So
sorry.
I don't know if it's syphilis. I don't know. So many people that pilgrimage die of mysterious disease. I'm going with syphilis, gonorrhea. That's an STD. Is what
gonorrhea, yes. Syphilis is actually a really interesting moment because there's a whole debate about whether or not syphilis is a New World disease and whether or not. So when we talk about the Columbian Exchange, like we gave smallpox or whatever, and they gave us syphilis. And but then there's this whole debate about whether or not Henry VIII had syphilis, and that's why the codpiece.
Yes.
Codpiece as a concept of syphilis, but I think that is more a concept that comes out of people who don't really know a lot about costume history. Because when you think about joined hose, you have to have a codpiece.
Exactly.
You have to have a codpiece because otherwise your twigs and berries are just flapping about.
But it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't work. Joined hose don't work without codpieces. So it's this whole moment of like, did the codpiece represent a moment of syphilis, like an adaptation to
makes your dick look big.
It makes your dick look big.
Right.
That's exactly it.
Right. And
you
so
put your hands together and makes you look great. What do you get? What?
It's all about the lift and separate or lift and conjoin. I don't know. I don't know
what for guys. I don't know for guys. Is it lift and separate or is it lift and conjoin? I don't know if is the codpiece the sports bra of
yes, a codpiece is the sports bra or the yoga pants. The yoga pants of the male, yeah.
Ah, there you go.
Anyway, guys get codpieces, I guess is our takeaway here. But syphilis as a an element of the Columbian exchange would post-date the Viking Age, is my point, I guess.
Yes, it is. That is true. But I'm still going with my theory that people that went on pilgrimage to Rome and died of mysterious disease was an STD because they couldn't keep it in their pants.
Legit. Like
Men, women, whatever, couldn't keep it in the pants.
I respect that.
I realized that I had to quickly run out to use the little bear's room. But I was wondering if you had mentioned about Ref's name at all.
Which one? So he went by 3 different names.
Just
Ref.
Ref,
He's getting named Ref the Sly?
or no, just the name Ref, what it means in Old Norse. So Refr means fox.
The
in Old
fox.
Norse. So this guy's name is Ref the Sly, Fox the Sly.
Fox the
And
Sly.
not only does Refr mean fox, but Refjur, right, with a J, means tricks or cheats.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, he's.
So this is a complete play on words. This guy is sly guy, cheater.
He's a sly, tricksy dude. And I love that at the beginning, he is described as lazy, never going to do anything with his life. He's, doesn't put his efforts to anything. And then you find out he is like this magic genius builder.
Is this a pre an early version of Reynard the Fox?
Yeah, well, yes. It's probably contemporary, but yes, it is exactly that.
Like we think about Reynard the Fox in medieval folklore as this character that is the trickster. You have the Reynard the Fox, then you have the wolf, and I can't remember the wolf's name. But Reynard the Fox is this trickster character. It's sort of like Anansi in Africa, where he plays the role of the sneak thief, the tricky guy.
Yeah.
And then of course it carries forward into modern concepts. We have Reynard the Fox appears in the book The Magicians by Lev Grossman.
Robin Hood, Disney's Robin Hood is a fox.
Right.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Like the fox is, yes. Yeah. And Ref is the fox, the clever, the sly, the trickster, and that's compounded by the fact that he uses disguises and goes by other names. So when he is in Norway, he goes by Shibida. He goes by, what is it in Norway? Norway is Narfi? Nar something in Norway. Narfa. It must be Narfi. And then when he goes to Denmark, it's Siga something. Siga. It's not Siga Frith, but it's a Siga. It's one of those SYG Siga things. Yeah. So I just love that he changes his name. He does all kinds of random shit. And yeah, he kills like a half dozen people, and it's all cool. It's all good. If you move 4 countries, it's fine. Just keep sailing away from your troubles.
Like you do. Like it's fine. It's cool. It's normal.
And yes, Rusty, that lasted longer than Beowulf. That's because Kinehild did like the world's shortest Beowulf. It was ridiculous.
Here's the thing. Here's what I'll tell you is that there is a novelization of the a Wishbone version of Beowulf called Beowulf. And I read that at one point, and Beowulf is like the fastest speed run through Beowulf of all time. And it skips a lot of the deeper esoteric parts of Beowulf. It just it blasts right through them. So I read Beowulf, the Wishbone version, which by the way, Wishbone is.
I love Wishbone.
Right, like it is the greatest. I would not have gotten away with a 4 in AP Lit if not for Wishbone, right? Like,
oh yeah,
Wishbone. We would get together as AP students watching Wishbone because Wishbone gave you a cogent and clear discussion of the literature of various literature, sort of various major works in literature's themes, and it's like enough that you can write an essay about it. Because
I watched so much Wishbone with my daughter, which will just bypass that part.
This would have been so nice to know about when I was doing AP classes. Instead, I got some points on an AP quiz because I had the entirety of the Monty Python Oliver Cromwell song memorized, and so knew some very specific dates for battles, and like, oh yeah, no, he was Puritan, I'm certain, because he's Oliver Cromwell, born in 1599, died in 1658, September, was Puritan. Anyway, it's just
here's the thing I will tell you, Bersi, is that you are still a child, and therefore you have not taken AP classes yet. So when you take
now that's the counselors at BCC who gave me my,
you're like 12. Like, you were born in the 90s. That makes you 12. So anyway, the point is, when you get to AP classes,
Worse than that, 1990 was 30 years ago.
Shut up, lady. Shut up. Okay, so when you get into high school, Bersi, because you are 12, when you get into high school, watch Wishbone, because Wishbone is
the bomb. I love Wishbone.
This year, I just started high school right back up.
Outstanding.
Because I'm teaching 9th and 10th graders, and I'm actually also still in middle school because I'm teaching some 8th graders too.
That is really
upsetting. Well, at least you're the right height for that.
I literally, when I passed out supplies, we like had masks, we were like doing like, I had some supplies to pass out in the parking lot at school. And some of my kids showed up, and I'm like, you're all taller than me. This is so bad.
I'm sorry. Someday I will get over your age, but today is
no,
not the day.
No.
Like Aragorn says, today is not that day. Someday the
not today.
100, but today
not
is
today.
So anyway, guys, we've been going for an hour and 48 minutes. I love you all.
We have nerded out drunkenly. I'm gonna thank you guys again for being on this ridiculous journey with me, because oh my god, I am having so much fucking fun with this whole saga thing. Next week we will be back at our normal time, 11 o'clock, although I'm loving the drunken sagas thing. We might have to do this again. So next Saturday, 11 o'clock in the morning, we're going to get serious again, early Scandinavian concepts of gender. And we're going to spend all of January on gender and all that's associated with that, shield maidens and emasculation and all kinds of awesome stuff. Although that's really not awesome, but you know what I headed there.
You know,
and as of tonight, February will be Anglo-Saxon shit.
Yes.
So Kinehild will be driving that bus because I got nothing other than Beowulf. All right. So thank you all for hanging in there with us. It has been a lovely evening, and we will see you next week.